Where do you want to go to law school, Pix?
I don't know yet. Just somewhere either in New York, DC.
Really? So you want to practice law in New
We're just
York?
waiting for him to join, right?
What do you do? I want to practice
Yeah, I
law?
think so.
In New York?
I've got it.
I'd be down to practice law in New York.
Okay, because I feel like where you study, is that where you go take the bar
A lot of the
usually?
time,
Most of the time.
yeah, but not always. New
Okay.
York has a lot of the good schools there place people all different places.
Do people do New York and Florida? Is that a normal thing at all?
Usually, you have some connection to Florida when you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So some people who go to like top law schools in New York will, if they have a connection to Florida, they might take the Florida equivalent. I actually don't know what the Florida bar, if they accept the UBE or anything like that. That's like the universal bar exam.
Didn't Kamala not pass the bar exam the first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
The people.
Break.
But
Yeah, I should give her a break.
Wow.
California's supposed to be
I'm voting
Got a lot of
Trump.
lawsuits.
Forget it. I'm voting Trump.
Pixie, do you want my seat to talk to this guy? Because
No, it's okay. Don't worry about
I
it.
still love when people bring stuff up like that. Like,
Yeah.
she's an idiot.
I-
It's like, bro,
yeah.
you
We're
didn't
gonna
even
swap.
be able
No,
to answer a
it's
single
okay. I-
someone's gonna swap.
Pixie, oh, never mind. Go,
Hi.
Good luck.
What do you want?
Oh,
Hello.
Ooh. Can you hear us?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey,
Doing
Congressman.
well.
Nice hat.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it. How you doing?
We're doing
We're
great.
We're all doing
good.
well.
How are you? How are you feeling
Sick,
about the upcoming night?
I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. I was on the road for about 2 weeks and got back 2 days ago, and I do feel good. I've been in like every battleground state many times. I'm feeling good about things for Tuesday. And I'm in Florida, so I'm tracking our Florida stuff, and I feel good about our abortion ballot initiative too.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, what races are you watching? What races are Congressman Frost keeping an eye on that other people might not be?
So I'm paying very close attention to control the House, obviously, because
Oh.
being in the minority sucks, and I don't
Yeah.
really the minority anymore.
Valid.
So I'm paying attention to our key races in California and New York. So like Will Rawlings, I like a lot of those folks. And then I'm also paying attention to a lot of our frontline seats of people who won but were on nobody's radar. And a really big one is Marie Gluesenkamp Perez in Washington State.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know if y'all noticed, like somebody lit a ballot box on fire in
Yeah.
like one of the most Democratic precincts. She won this race by like a few hundred votes. So like that action, we don't know who did it, but I don't know. I have my suspicions. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal for her race. So she just called her yesterday. I was like, what can we do? So a lot of the frontline races, and then here in Orlando and in Florida, we actually have an opportunity to break the Republican supermajority. There's like 6 state legislature seats that Biden won that Republicans are in, and 4 of them are in my district. So we've been working hard at flipping them. So yeah, I'm in my car right now because I'm at a wrestling match, and I'm speaking. They let me on stage to tell everyone to go vote, and so we were there, tell people to go vote at the wrestling match, which is pretty sick.
How are you? I feel like people have changed some of their tunes since seeing the Seltzer poll in Iowa. Were you surprised when that poll came out?
I was a little surprised, yeah. I was a little surprised by it. I mean, that's a really good showing in Iowa. And, I know the Trump campaign came up right away and was like, well, our poll says he's +5. Well, even if he's +5,
Right.
that is kind of still good for us in terms of Iowa and where he was in 2020. So I'm feeling good, but also I'm at the point where this is the point where I kind of start to tune out. I'm like a big bull nerd, but over the last few days, I kind of try not to pay attention anymore and just kind of, lock in.
What about the Senate? What do we think there? There have been some very competitive seats. Obviously, Tester in Montana, some decent polls in Texas. What are your thoughts about the state of the race?
So, this Senate map is the worst Senate map Democrats have had in about 40 years. So that's like we can kind of ground ourselves in that. What I will say, though, is I think it's going to be really close. I think we're not 100% sure where it's going to go. I'm feeling really good, though, about holding most of our seats that, people thought we were just going to completely lose. I think if I were to say what I'm most worried about Tester, and I'm most worried about, I was just in Ohio with Sherrod Brown. I think most people would categorize his as the second most vulnerable. Being out there, though, the energy was super high. I actually met a lot of conservatives that were supporting him, and I was on college campuses. I met like young conservatives who are out there knocking doors for Sharon. So I feel optimistic about it, and obviously, I hope Tester comes through because we really need to control the Senate. If he weren't, though, looking at Osborne in Nebraska, which is kind of crazy, but would be great. And then, Allred, and then obviously Devin McCarcel-Powell here in Florida. So, yeah, Senate math is tricky, but I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe we can hold on. Like, I really want to hold on to it because, like, I actually want to, like, get shit done. So.
Yeah, there were some polls that show Rick Scott, I think, only up 1 point on McCarcel-Powell, right? So there's a chance.
Exactly.
What do you think? Are you hopeful? I mean, I know it's tough, but
it's tough, but I am hopeful. Look, like, people don't realize that, number one, Florida Democrats, we've kind of not done a good job for a long time, and then now we're finally doing a good job, but it takes time. But I'll tell you this, Debbie's the first Latina, Spanish-speaking Democratic statewide nominee we've ever had, which is crazy.
wow.
And so she's the first person that can go, as a Democrat, that's been able to go on advertisements and kind of like fight back this Republican talking point that, like, we're the authoritarians. And, it doesn't matter if you're a moderate or progressive. If you're in Florida, you're going to be called a socialist, a defund the police, like every word you can think of. And for so long, Florida Democrats would hear that charge and then spend all of our money and all of our time on ads that said, no, I'm not. And no, I'm not is not a good message. Like, no, I'm not. It's not a compelling message. And so Debbie, for the first time in a while, is running a statewide campaign where it's not no, I'm not. It's this is what I am. This is what I'm for. And you want to talk about authoritarianism? Look at Rick Scott. Look at Donald Trump. Look at Ron DeSantis. And so I think, like, and that's honestly during the primary, I endorsed her in the primary and I asked her straight up. I was like, Debbie, are you going to run the typical, like, Florida Democrat, no, I'm not campaign? Or are you going to, like, talk about this shit we're for? Because most people are with us on the issues, but they're not with us on the politics. So we need to switch up the politics. And she said yes. And that's why she's polling the way she's polling. We just did a rally with John Ossoff, and he came up and said, listen, I don't call it the margin of error, I call it the margin of effort. And I was like, I'm stealing that. I'm taking that. So she's in the margin of effort. I think she can do it.
It's exciting, I tell you. It's cool to have a chance, and even in Texas too. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but obviously you guys have to plan for if you do win in the House and take over in the majority. What do you think we could look forward to on oversight, for example? Because you guys have been chomping at the bit to actually do something of value instead of trying to go after the Biden crime family nonsense. So what are you excited about if you get the majority? I'm not going to jinx it, but if you were in the majority, what are you excited about?
If I'm in the majority, I'm excited about not wasting our time looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, she'll probably bring it anyway. There's been 3 times that she's shown on a poster board pictures of Hunter Biden's nudes. So I'm hoping that there won't be relevant, but either way, I've spoken a lot with Jamie Raskin about this. I think, we really have to go into making sure that we protect our democracy in states as well. And I held an ad hoc hearing my first year in Congress, last year, where we focused in on, like, what's going on Florida, what's going on Georgia, like book banning, the removal of elected officials because they disagree with them. And I think Oversight Committee has a really good and very important role to play in actually focusing on that. The second thing is, like, doing our job, what we're supposed to do, which is oversight of the federal government and making sure we can be more efficient. We have not done any of that. Everything has been culture wars and all that BS. And the other thing that's really important to my state that is a huge problem in California now as well, and it's becoming a big problem across the country, is looking at the housing crisis, and specifically, we need to conduct a lot of oversight on insurance, homeowners insurance, and it's been killing people all across my state, especially with all the hurricanes that we have. So there's a lot of work that we need to do, but I think the government oversight is important, but there's a lot of very specific issues that I think we can really kind of peel things back on and show to the Americans actually going on as it relates to corporate greed and as it relates to a lot of the failures we're seeing of, yes, the federal government, but also state governments as well. And I think Oversight Committee has a really important role to play there.
Yeah,
Hi.
it'd be huge.
Sorry, I
No,
want to
please,
cut
go
in
ahead.
for a second.
Talk in this one.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, so.
No, your other mic works fine. You can, it was good.
Okay. Well, basically, just like you, I'm Generation Z, and I also live in Florida. And I think a lot of people around our age is very into politics, want to get more into it, but are really scared when it comes to the running side of portion, or the running side of things. A lot of it has to do with how Republicans react so negatively when Democrats mount a campaign. But I kind of just wanted to know your general thoughts and advice when it comes to young people our age who want to get into the House, want to run in local politics, but don't really know where to begin.
Yeah, no, I appreciate this question. Where in Florida do you live?
Right now I live in Miami.
I was sick. I was just in Miami last night. I did a rally with David McCarcel-Powell at Gramps in Wynwood. But either way, and it was really good. It was packed. Okay, so this is what I'd say. Number one, the reason why my year and a half of running for Congress was the hardest year and a half of my life was obviously I was running for Congress, but more than that, I really dealt with a ton of financial hardship that I wouldn't have otherwise had if I wasn't running for office. Obviously, I quit my job to run for Congress, and I thought I had enough money in the bank. I had money put away, but I didn't really have enough. When the rent hike moratorium got lifted in Florida, I got priced out of my apartment, and I experienced homelessness for 2 months. Then when I finally saved up enough money to get into an apartment, I was running out of money, couldn't pay for food. And so I started Ubering, and that's how I was able to make ends meet, is I kept opening new credit cards and running up my debt, and then Ubering to pay for my bills. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of times when we talk about campaigns, we talk a lot about campaign finance, which is really like we need to end Citizens United. There's a lot we need to do. My North Star is public financing of campaign, but it's going to take some time to get there. But the thing we never talk about is the personal impact that, number one, keeps candidates down and from being able to really focus on their campaign. And number two, keeps people from running in the first place. Like, we don't have the data of how many people wanted to run but didn't because of this. And to be honest, if I had a family, if I had children I had to take care of, I would have dropped out of my race 4 months in when I first experienced that housing problem, which means that our system in and of itself is really making it's difficult for young people and working class families to be able to run for office and be represented there, because a lot of people who run for Congress are already rich, so they can afford to go a year and a half without working. They have the money in the bank to live, and they can focus 110% on winning this thing. And I'm going to be honest, I believe I won because we built a movement, because I had a message, and because we worked the hardest, and the people obviously voted for me. But I'm going to also throw in, like I always say, I also won because a little bit of luck, and or like right place, right time. And the vast majority of people who run for office don't win, but the 98% of people who run for Congress are 98% of people who win their race for Congress are also the person who raised the most money. And so it just shows we have inherent flaws in our system, both in terms of campaign finance, but also like personally running for office. And so when people come up to me and they say, yo, I want to run for Congress, I want to run for school board, I want to run for this, what's your advice? One of the first things I tell them is think about your personal finances and like how you're saving up, or how you're going to make sure you're taken care of when you're doing this thing if you can't work. And if you do have to work a full-time job and you're running for Congress specifically, you might not be able to run the campaign you want to run because it's a really hard thing to do. So something has to give. And so when I first got to Congress, the first thing I did is we made some good relationships with folks that are commissioners on the FEC, and we worked hard, and I actually testified and told my story to expand the ability for candidates to get take a stipend so they can pay for their bills. And so we actually were successful in that, and the FEC passed a rule that candidates can take a stipend now when they file to run, which is a game changer to help working class candidates to be able to pay their bills. There are stipulations in there to make sure people don't take advantage of it. And the other thing that's really helpful is you can keep taking this stipend up until 2 weeks after the campaign, win or lose. And this is important because there's a lot of people who get to the end of it, right towards the end, right before they have to qualify for the ballot, and they say, damn, do I have a chance, or do I really need to bow out because I can't afford it personally? And now it gives people that, they can actually continue till the end and not worry about being in financial hardship. I don't think you should risk your whole financial stability to just raise your hand and say, what about me?
Yeah.
And when we're running for office, that's what we're doing. We're raising our hand saying, what about me for school board? What about me for Congress? And I think it should be easier. It shouldn't be easy to run for office, but it shouldn't be damn near impossible.
Damn. That's so cool. I was gonna ask, like, what you're coming to the end of the 118th Congress here. Like, what lessons did you learn as a freshman that you would tell a younger Maxwell Frost just getting doe-eyed into Congress?
Yeah, no, this is a really good question, and we've actually been very effective this Congress. I've gotten 2 pieces of legislation passed through the House through bigger packages. I have one that I just got passed through committee. That's really a piece of legislation that has to do with voting rights, which is kind of crazy to get through a Republican committee. And so we're still working on it. So we feel good about the work we've gotten done with the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. But what would I tell myself? I would say there are some key relationships that I've made with people on the other side of the aisle that I really got to foster and grow in my second year of my first term. And I wish I would have made a little bit more of a effort to do that at the very beginning, because I find that, the further on you get in the session, the more adversarial conversations you're having and debates you're having with people. And so at the beginning, when people are brand new, I think it provides a really good opportunity to be able to chat with people before you start really hating each other. And and I'd hope that, something I really learned is that oftentimes we know how divisive Congress is, how it's not really productive. No one works together. And we usually attribute 100% of that to the people. But after being there, I'm going to give the people maybe 60% of it, like the actual members of Congress, and I'm going to give 40% or 30% to the institution itself and what it rewards and what it doesn't reward. And what I mean by that is, for instance, orientation. This is like before we get started, before we start yelling at each other. You'd think it's the best time to get to know people on the other side. But really, you're only with people from the other side the first part of the day. And the first part of the day, you're in class. You're learning. You're not really supposed to talk. The second half of the day, which is more social things and learning, you're outside the classroom, you're divided by party. I mean, even walk into a committee room and you see committees, the whole purpose of it is for us to hold hearings to inform legislation and to work together. I remember walking into the oversight room and looking and being like, wow, we're not facing each other. We're facing the audience. There's an audience. There's cameras. And then I look up, and I know I went to art school. There are stage lights, stage lighting, pointing at us. I mean, anytime I sit on committee, I feel like I'm walking on a stage. And to be honest, I am walking on a stage. Yeah. And so the way it works, and this is I think it's good that our committees are shown on C-SPAN and people can watch it. But the con from that is it's become a shit show and a place where people are just performing. That's part of the reasoning why the Supreme Court hasn't moved to having their to being televised yet, is they don't want Supreme Court justices to get into a place where they're performing rather than really discussing and asking the questions they need to ask. I'm not saying I think it should be televised, but just something we have to remember is it pushes members to perform. An oversight committee is a ton of performing. And so the system itself is set up to reward the Marjorie Taylor Greene showing a nude of Hunter Biden and being crazy, right? It's set up to reward these things, and it's not set up to reward having an honest to God conversation. And that's not to say, look, I mean, I have some clips out there, I'm gonna go in on these people when I need to, but I also spend a lot of time trying my best to have a real conversation with the person I'm questioning to try to inform, hopefully, the bill we can craft with other people. So that's a big learning thing for me.
I was going to thank you, Representative Frost. Do you have one last question, Loner?
Yeah, I was going to ask, one of the things I've noticed coming from the Harris campaign lately has been this phenomenon of otherwise Republicans, usually more moderate ones, moving away from the Republican Party and even endorsing Harris, if not just abstaining. I think when I went canvassing, I noticed quite a few people saying that, right-wingers who had decided that their top priority was no Trump. How much of that have you experienced just throughout the campaign?
I've experienced a lot of it. I actually I forget the name of the university. I think it was University of Northern Arizona in Flagstaff. And I went out there. We had a really good showing. And then afterwards, like, I think it was 2 students came up to me and they were wearing Republicans for Harris hats. And I was like, oh, I was like sick. Like, I was like, why? What made you like support the VP? I'm just curious. And they were like, well, honestly, a lot of it had to do with character. And like, we hate Trump. We think he's bad for our party. I actually have had a surprising number of conversations with students who came up to me and said, hey, I'm an independent. Hey, I'm a libertarian. I'm leaning towards Harris because of the environment. But what does she have to say on housing? And then I have that conversation. And so that's a real thing that's existing. And I think broadening this coalition is going to be really, helpful in hopefully winning this race on Tuesday. Something I always think about, especially as a Floridian, is long-term party building. And something we always have to keep in mind is this is really helpful for our election now. As we get into things and as we move on to the future and maybe the Republicans have a different nominee, how do we work at, having the real conversations and being in fellowship with a lot of these folks who, honestly, when I talk with a lot of them, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, dude, you're a pretty like liberal person, actually.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and so again, this is the difference. And I feel like Florida's a case study in this. The difference between politics and policy. If I put, expanding Medicaid, or like let's say if I put Medicare for all, if I put a bill on expanding background checks, like all these things that are considered very progressive or at least just like liberal or center left policies, if I put them on the ballot in Florida, they're going to win. Like honestly, 10 out of 10 of the times. But then a lot of those same people would then vote for Donald Trump or DeSantis on the same ballot. And so it's this difference between the policy that people are with us in states like Florida, but the politics, it's like that there's a disconnect, and that has to do with the politics of like the vibe people feel on the campaign and how people feel that you are. And I feel like the next 4 years, we have opportunity to do a lot of really good stuff and line with their values. Like I'm a progressive, I want progressive values, but also in terms of thinking about our politics, because again, when the nominee changes in 4 years for the Republicans, I mean, who knows, Trump might run again, if he's, I guess, still around or whatever, or I mean, still around in politics.
I think he will be. I don't think he's going anywhere.
He might run again.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm thinking is like, if it's a Nikki Haley on the ballot, right? If it's like someone like that, we don't want to, like, I believe in as broad of a coalition as we can build. And then we have 4 years to work at bringing those folks in fellowship and, hopefully having those conversations where they're like, you know what, maybe I am a Democrat, maybe I am like liberal. And I think the next 4 years give us the opportunity to do that. And so I'm always for broadening the coalition. I'm always for having people at the table who might not otherwise be there, not just because they're going to vote our way, but because after the vote, like what are we doing to make sure they stick with us for this? And there's going to be people who don't stick with us, and there's going to be people who do stick with us. And like my mind's already there a little bit, but like we got to win first, obviously.
I love it. I think we need to. You got to compromise. Like you're in a legislative body, and the goal is to work with everybody and come to solutions. And so I love to hear it. And I think you're in a great delegation in Florida because you have everything from Matt Gaetz to Anna Paulina Luna to Jared Moskowitz, and you as well, of course. So it's fascinating. And I actually think you guys did a brilliant job from the minority with these must-pass bills, getting more Democratic votes than Republican, and like the debt ceiling as well. So I think it was a great experience. I hope. I know it sucks to be in the minority, but you guys did a brilliant job, and I'm so excited for you guys to be in the majority. I'm hoping.
I appreciate it. I mean, that's me as a I always tell people, I'm a progressive, but I'm a progressive from the South. So sometimes I think about things a little differently just because I'm not in California or New York where it's progressive Democrats versus moderate Democrats at the legislature. Like we're versus like fascists. It's a little bit of a different ball game. And so I have my North Stars that I believe in, but I also, I feel like a lot of times in politics, people want to make you choose a side. Like, are you for the steps forward or are you for the end result that we need? Pick one. And that's just such a load of BS. I mean, if you study movement history, you know that these things, they're not identical, but they're indivisible. They work together to get to where we want to go. Yeah. The problem becomes when you let the steps forward and you let the incremental changes come at the expense of believing in or fighting for Medicare for all or the top thing we need. I don't let that happen. I talk about it all the time, but I also realize that expanding Medicare and Medicaid, that's going to be an important step that we need to get to a place where we expand it to every American. And I see that in the path. And I don't and I know it's not going to happen tomorrow, but when it does happen, like one day we'll wake up and we'll be like, wow, it started off with, Bernie Sanders' campaign, him talking about it. He didn't win, but now most of the people coming to Congress, which is true for Democrats, are for universal health care and for Medicare for all. Like there's over 120 co-sponsors on the bill. Not all of them are progressives. And then years and years passed, and we just kept building our numbers. And then one day we woke up and we had the majority, and every Democrat was for it. And we had the votes, and we clicked yes, and everyone got health care. And to the world, everyone's going to be like, wow, that happened overnight. And then we'll all just kind of look at each other and smile because it was anything but overnight. That's like my theory of the case, and that's like my theory of change and how we get there. And so it'll take some time. I think we're closer than people think, not just on healthcare, but on everything. But we'll get there.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? I'm Steve. We spoke before at an event prior. Yeah. So, so complaint / question / your thoughts, I guess. One of the biggest issues that I found is there's so much like excitement and there's so much motivation to do something, but I feel like it's really hard to get involved. So I'm pretty sure the only reason we're talking to you, I think, is because the canvassers that we have out working in Pennsylvania, I think managed to basically get us in contact. I did like kind of minimal pushing for this event. I got a lot of other stuff going on. I didn't even do as much as I could have, and they still managed to knock like 10,000 doors. I think they had conversations with almost 1,000 voters in that state. And these are just a few people from my community that are like involved in going out and going the extra mile. Is there any easy way to have infrastructure in place, or there's not? The answer is no. What I'm asking you is, can you push or bully or do whatever you need to do to make it so that if I'm an excited Democrat and I'm in a house in a state with a zip code, that I can like go to a website and click like use me or get me in a community to try to like find ways to enroll people into local political stuff? Because it's so hard to find that pipeline, it seems.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think part of the thing is there are places where it can be easy, right? Easier. For instance, if you get connected, there's certain organizations where you can hop on a dialer right now. Like you can just go onto their dialer. You can hop on. You can call voters in Pennsylvania, right? And certain organizations that do that. And so I think the problem is there's so many people doing the work that sometimes it's hard to find what website do I go to? What exactly do I do? And a lot of people will go to, KamalaHarris.com and sign up, and they'll want to engage you in person to go knock some doors and things like that. But there's more and more organizations doing distributive organizing, which is really important. I actually just kicked off a Kamala Harris phone bank with over 100 people in it. That was just a virtual phone bank, and it's people like sitting at home. So I'm with you on that. And actually, before Congress, I was the national organizing director at March for Our Lives, which is the organization that came after the shooting in Parkland. And I remember when I got hired, I was like, "Yo, I'm going to travel the country. We're going to be on the streets. It's going to be crazy." And then COVID hit. And I knew nothing about digital organizing. And I had a crash. I was running the organizing for this huge organization, and I kind of had to learn as we went, and we created a really cool way of people being able to be engaged at home and making it super, super easy. So March for Our Lives, I'd plug their work, I'd plug I know NextGen's doing some of that work, but also other organizations as well. But I'm with you. I think the more we can do to create, like maybe, there's one general website that can help funnel people to certain things that would be helpful. But yeah, I'm with you. We want to make it as easy as possible for folks. But people should, you can go on Kamala's website, or this takes a little extra work, but I do have to plug it because this is like the majority or not. Like if you go to the DCCC website, you can also sign up to volunteer there and find out like what frontline races you can call into and stuff like that.
Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the answer.
Yeah.
Can I ask one last question?
Do you have time for one last question?
Just a quick one. I know you're a big.
I could do.
You're a big music guy. What do you listen to right now? What's some cool stuff that you're listening to?
Oh yeah. Music is so good right now. I mean, it's good all the time, but I'm really listening to, for people that know, I'm a drummer. My dad's a full-time musician, and I went to art school. That's what I wanted to do my whole life, and then something wrong happened in my head, and I got into politics. But I'm like religiously listening to this new album called Imaginal Disc by a band called Magdalena Bay. And like it's like a beautiful album if you like. It's like alternative rock, it's pop, it's like
there's like disco, it's prog rock, it's everything. I just saw them like a couple months ago, and I'm a huge fan. So I'm listening to Magdalena Bay. I'm still listening to Brat. I'll probably kind of ease up. Well, because I just went to Sweat with my partner, and we had
Sweat. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was so sick. I had such a good time, and like it depends on the type of concert. You know, I had a hat on and I was wearing sunglasses indoors because that's what you do at Sweat. And so I thought no one would recognize me, but every single millennial gay there recognized me. So we were just having a lot of them would come and say, I hope you have a really good time tonight. You deserve it. And so it was a lot of fun. And then there's an artist named Leve, who she like blew up on TikTok, and I'm really into her because she is like the gateway drug for Gen Z to get into jazz, and I grew up playing jazz, and that's kind of the top, the music I love the most, and I'm just so obsessed with the fact that she's getting so many young people into jazz, and that she's writing new jazz. And I grew up playing, and there's something called the real book. When you're a jazz band, that's a book this thick of standards that are from a long time ago that are amazing. But that's like kind of what you play growing up, is you play the jazz standards from a long time ago. And I think it's so cool that there's like a young person making new jazz music, and like there's young people listening to it. I think that's really sick. So those are 3 people I'm like really into right now.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. It was awesome, and obviously we're all hoping for the best of luck for everyone on November 5th.
110%. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, see you later.
See ya.
Hold on, folks.
Good. Okay, just a quick thing. When you guys are like talking and doing stuff, don't ever move to like make space for somebody, because the cameras are set up so you guys are sitting naturally. So this hole that you guys have made is totally chopping her off from camera right now.
Oh no.
But it was made for
Yeah, because the cameras are coming from angles.
Yeah.
So when you guys are moving, it like chops people apart. Okay.
So
All right, keep talking.
Don't ever move.
Don't ever. Don't ever fucking move.
Don't move.
Yo, you saw that seltzer ball, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Fucking over, dude. We're gonna go hunting after. Okay.
That's a good last question.
Yeah, I
great last
wanted to
question.
like.
That's a very clippable moment for him.
Yeah, I know he's really into music, and I thought it'd be a fun way
Yeah.
for people to connect with him in the audience who may not be into the politics stuff as much. Like, oh, he's into this and this, and it's like turn them
Should have
on.
asked him his favorite swear word, like the Kamala quote.
Last time I asked him like, what YouTube channels do you watch and Twitch streams, and he
Yeah.
gave some insight on that. Yeah.
What does he watch?
He said he watched Let's Talk Politics or Let's Talk Elections. That guy.
Oh yeah. I feel like he's a bit of a copium channel for Democrats.
He
But I like
was kind of doomer in the midterms.
Oh, was he
but
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
okay.
he's turned into like hopium.
Yeah.
I forgot who else. I think he said Hassan or something. I don't
He did say his
remember.
time.
Did he? I don't remember.
Uh-oh.
But he's
Not anymore, though.
he's normie. Like
But Hassan was in
Yeah.
regular old Democrat mode back then, right?
Yeah, this was like
exactly. It was
this
like
was a while
6 years
ago.
ago, probably.
Okay, wait, real
Yeah, and then he
quick.
was-
Can Guy and Pixie, can you two switch?
Yep.
Okay.
Come on up.
And then Pixie, you gotta mic him.
Okay. What?
I'll put it on.
Remember, if you're
how does it come up?
ever confused about where to go with the microphones, just match the color to the light stand. So I think that has a blue thing on it, and the light stand should have blue things on it, right?
Red.
Or red?
Blue.
What? No, it's blue. It's blue.
Red,
Don't move.
blue.
Okay, you were right behind Joe.
Philosophy, kind of.
I can't tell you.
Suffering.
I'm just gonna stare at the
I
back of
touched
your
it at the same
head.
time you did.
I don't do anything with that part. That's not my business.
Make sure you sniff it too.
So Pixie, you're preparing for the LSAT.
Yes.
How does it feel?
Smells good.
It's a little bit like a job, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I am literally taking practice exams
Yeah.
every day. It's awful.
Yeah. You'll get better though. It's a process, you know.
Yeah, they won't. They're making me schedule it the day after the election. They're not letting me take it.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you're taking the LSAT the day after the election?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless if I can get it changed, but they're
Oh,
not
it's
letting me.
crunch
So
time. Wow.
yeah,
But you can retake right?
yeah, I can retake it.
She's like, don't say that. I don't want to retake it. I want to do it once and
Done.
be perfect. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is right
Yeah.
now I'm reaching like 168, 169. So I'm
That's
just
good.
trying to.
The 170 mark?
Yes. I broke it
That's a good
twice
score,
so
though.
far, but
Yeah. On your practices?
yeah,
Yeah.
I need to break it more.
You can do it. The extra adrenaline kick on the day will get you.
Yeah.
Let's get
Do you
there.
test well, or is it harder typically to have?
Well, I think the good thing is I have extra time because of the ADHD stuff.
Awesome.
So I think as long as I have that, I'm not going to get test anxiety because it's a lot of time. In fact, my problem is now I'm overthinking problems and like being like,
What if they're trying to trick me?
no, because they do. They do sometimes try to trick you.
I hate testing that tries to trick you.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like
bad.
What if I think that's
Sometimes
You can't
they
linger too
know.
long on a question. You
It
just
should
have
be
to, like, at a certain
illegal.
point, just
It should
skip
be illegal to try to
There
get.
have been times when I was practicing else that like I would just skip a question and I would have a eureka moment and go back to it at some point, but it's just not worth the other points you could be making, you know?
Yeah, I've just started like adopting a strategy of like if I think this answer is right, like the first time, just keep it, you know? Like the only ones I go back to are the ones that I start from the beginning, like being like,
Well, best of luck.
we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully that, Kamala wins and you get a
You're gonna
176.
have
Yeah.
a woman bump as well.
Oh, good. Oh, good luck.
What's a woman bump?
Well, when women are winning, they're winning.
Yeah.
We just
We're a
do it
hive mind. It's a
collectively.
collective.
We're a hive mind. Yeah,
If Kamala wins, she's going to add 10 points to all the women who did that. Right?
That's one of her policies.
It's a
part of
vibe thing. You wouldn't get it.
Did you refrain from asking a question to Representative Frost? Because he's American?
Well,
'Cause I feel
no,
like you had
right
some
at
good
the-
questions there. I could see that you had some good questions.
Right at the end, I was like, oh, "Have you heard Aquamarine by Addison Rae?" But I actually wanted to ask him about the insurance.
Oh.
Because when I was doing the research for my personal podcast on the climate situation in terms of the campaigning, the way that the insurance industry, particularly in places like Florida, is completely, like, it almost needs to be federalized because of it becomes like a lender of last resort situation where no one can get insurance, and then you do get insurance, and then they go, oh, it was damage insurance, it wasn't flood insurance, and then suddenly you're not protected.
Yeah.
And they just make it so fine that really that it's impossible to get any protection that doesn't completely bankrupt you. So I was interested when he said that that was something that he had already, like he was
Is there a
looking
similar
forward-
situation in Australia? Because I know you guys have a lot of disasters and things like
But
that.
we're just better in terms of but in terms of like there are problems with that. There are real big problems with that. But when that sort of stuff happens, like the government, there's a certain city that got hit by like 4 disasters in a row, and now they're looking at funding everyone to literally move cities. But we did have that same situation where towns that got hit by the fires, a few months later got hit by floods before they were
I
even
don't know what's
prepared.
worse, fire or mass flooding.
Depends. This is my theory on that. Would you rather lose everything and not know what you lost? Or would you rather have everything damaged to the point that you have to throw it out but you can see it?
I don't know.
I don't like wet stuff.
It's like, imagine your most prized possession and it's there ruined. I think I would rather it be burnt and gone so that I didn't even know what was missing versus constantly finding my stuff and being like, oh my God.
I knew someone who lost most things to a flood and fucked her up.
Yeah, and
So I'm not fuck that.
the flood also...
She was a musician, so it was all like musical equipment. Like she's a hurdy-gurdy player. Imagine a hurdy-gurdy player.
What's that?
It's like a
Is that like
it's like a string instrument, but you like turn a wheel, and it holds a drone string, and then the other ones are pushed by keys.
No.
It's like it's an old medieval folky thing.
Hurdy-gurdy.
It's a banging instrument.
But also with flood, it can be harder because with insurance, people can be like, well, your house is still standing, so you have to repair it. And so flood can create also practical issues that I don't think... But fire, you got to live in like a caravan if you're lucky enough to have a caravan.
As opposed to a flooded.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the
Deal
flood
with
is
the
awful.
mold. Look, natural disaster sucks no matter what
True,
it is.
true.
I think I prefer fire.
Yeah,
But again, I hate wet.
Canada
I
has
don't
some
lie.
fires. We got some. New
We
York
almost
turned
got smoked
orange.
out.
Yeah.
Because
I
of
remember
us.
those
Yeah,
memes.
because you guys.
Yeah.
2 summers ago, which was the last time I was in Canada, was like every day was just smoking
I could
all
s-
summer.
I
We
could
just
literally
couldn't do anything.
Swallow it
Yeah.
in my apartment. I could
Yeah.
swallow the ash.
in Australia before COVID, we had our massive fires to the point people had to wear masks before COVID. So we had like a month before COVID where you would have to wear a mask so you weren't breathing in ash.
Like an N95.
Yeah, so we all had our N95s
You had
because
mask
we were
culture
trying.
already, yeah.
We were like,
We had some
"Are you-"
problems with masking.
No, but the problem is then we were like, we have been masking forever. Like we were masking from December through.
Yeah. How did it feel to live in a fascist state during COVID?
Yeah. What's the truth? What actually happened with Australia during COVID?
We have some criticisms, don't we?
I feel a bit of, you can't know what the cost would have been, right? You can't know how many people would have died if we hadn't a lockdown.
Yeah.
And it sucked. Like, I had family members in hospital during COVID that had like really bad situations where you couldn't see people. So that sucks. And I feel really sympathetic for anyone who suffered from like the isolation of it. I lost all of my jobs at once because all of my jobs are contact jobs. Which is why I originally streamed on Twitch, because in one day I lost every job that I had. But yeah, I don't think people.
But the real question is, did they fuck people up for not wearing their masks? Or people said it was like there's a big right-wing thing where they were talking about how it was always Australia was the example of the proper fascio
They weren't beating
mask
people.
regime.
There was a bad thing that happened with immigrants in Melbourne in a certain set of towers that was a really bad situation.
What do you mean?
They got COVID spread in their towers and they got locked like into the towers, but a lot of them didn't speak English. They didn't know what was going on. They had to get food and medicine in, so there were issues with that. Melbourne was its own situation.
Was there like any like state?
Are we live right now?
Violence?
I was surprised.
Yeah, we're live.
How are they forced to stay?
They were guards. There was police around the building. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You were surprised at what? How much?
Well,
It's my favorite
I was
website.
actually I thought it was a little bit of a meme, but you weren't meming and
What?
things.
Oh, we're just pulling up the.
Wait, but why is
voting
that?
website.
Do you find that relevant to?
Someone
what you're-
fucked something up there. What now? What relevant?
Do you find that stuff is relevant to the?
The website's called Dan Clancy Sucks. Of course.
I guess I should have read the URL.
I've been fighting with people about this on Reddit today.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm in a holy war, and I'm using the weapon of the enemy against them, and there's a lot of people that have a problem with that. It's the same people that email into Steve and are like, listen, Steve, you really should stop making inflammatory remarks. It's not helpful. You're not getting your mission across or anything. And then he tells them to go fuck themselves, and he keeps growing and growing in popularity. So I'm like, I don't care about I care about fucking 5 million people thinking that DJ Clancy 999 is a fucking pervert, and people that wouldn't have cared about the issue now maybe do care a little bit. About
This is what he searches.
Do porn sites
Or-
normally put your flag next? Like, did they identify you that way?
He picked it. He picked it
No,
himself.
this. I'm gonna be
Did
very
he
careful.
actually?
I'm gonna be
That's
guarded. I'm gonna be guarded with this. DJ Clancy 999 many years ago created an account on several porn websites because everyone knows that if you want to watch porn, step one is to create an account
With your name.
with your full name.
How do you know it's because it's using the same
Wait, who's
exact
that rep who did the same
handle?
thing
Well,
with the
let's just say you can't register an email address that's known to
I
be
don't
used.
know.
I bet you I could find it.
What's the name of that rep who did the Nazi?
Mark Robinson, the
Why
Lieutenant
are you
Governor of
saying
North
Black
Carolina.
Nazi?
Websites.
Black Nazis.
Why are you doing it?
Hold on.
Wait,
like,
have you checked Nude Africa to see if he has a site?
But it's like crazy to me. People are losing their fucking mind over this shit.
Because they're saying, Dan, you're cancel culture. You're doing something that's kind of not.
They're like, this is nothing. Old people look at porn. Why are you complaining?
Yeah, but he's looking. Is this what he's looking at? Like
didn't
for
he-
casting
didn't he
first-time
It's looking
teens
at-
and.
it's that he's so fucking stupid.
What a naughty boy.
that he's creating an account under his
Wait,
name.
so that's the
How
point you
long
think you're
ago
making
was
is that
this?
he's dumb?
Years ago.
But he also favorited one of a Twitch streamer's video.
Karen
What?
Foley? Yeah. Well, that was before he worked there. But yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
but then okay.
But then what?
And then you pretend.
No, I'm not saying anything one way or the other. I'm.
You're not saying anything
investigating-
one way or the other?
I'm not saying one
You
way.
don't have an opinion in any
Wait,
way, shape,
who
or
the
form.
fuck did I said this to
You're
one of you?
truly just a fence sitter.
Who did
I'm a
I?
fence sitter. I have no thoughts.
Who did I say this to? Did I not say that he looks like the kind of burnout hippie who used to be at the fucking party selling weed to the young girls? And I said he looked like that. He said the look. Okay, that's all I said.
He looks like
I didn't say he was that guy.
I just think, I don't know. When I first saw the website, I was like, this looks like somebody in middle school, like a mean teenage girl would
do you think
make.
about that? It's
I
like the
don't
burn
know if
bug.
you don't
Hurts the
like.
most.
It is. That's what I thought of.
Mean teenage girls are very effective.
You know, like,
That's true.
True.
Look, like taking down a company is like an impossible thing, especially like a 5 to 50
Well,
billion
don't take
dollar
down
company.
Twitch.
He just made Fortnite.
You don't understand. Taking down a company is impossible for their bad things that they do. Taking down a man is doable.
Okay.
A man cares about his name.
You know what I hope? I hope the Frost team is not watching it.
What are the odds that this was a genuine mistake? 0?
Oh, now it's showing up. Why didn't it show up originally?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's weird.
I think it
something
said
right.
Dan Clancy.
How long has it been?
Twitch is an anti-Semitic.
We can't give it like
Hezbollah.
5 more minutes after
Who's that?
Frost before we go.
Yeah.
Dan Clancy's Twitch is an anti-Semitic Hezbollah.
Yeah, there we go.
It just
He wants people to know.
it looks like the kind of website I made up as one I didn't like and when I was like 15 years old.
Should not be taken as fact. You're really covering your bases.
There's other shit, right? So look, this is designed to sully Dan Clancy's name because he is the tip of the spear of a fucking anti-Semitic conspiracy. Okay.
And you're using MAGA rags like New York Post to do your to do your dirty work.
My point is
if I could have a one-on-one with Ben Shapiro, I'd be like, "What's up, dude? Let's talk some shit." These fucking radical leftists.
I wish we could use your energy for the election.
I just think
No, I guess the
I'm
problem is,
someone
like-
who doesn't know anything, and
don't like the design?
I click this website. I'm gonna be like, the person who made this is like insane. Click away.
Yeah, you should make it seem more legit.
It's designed to be more
scandalous.
It's schizo.
Have you started
Yeah, it is, right? But there's other things that are better. Like, you're not just sending out Dan Clancy sucks to people that are outside of, like,
I thought
live stream
Steve Bennell
Did you spell that right?
sucks.
You put
I thought that said Stephen Bennell sucks. Like, have they done the fucking... He's playing both sides. He wants to watch the world burn.
You actually?
So this is his boss.
Oh my god.
I love
This
that
one's a lot
overlap.
nicer looking.
Well, this is different. This is just starting.
Oh.
There's no information here yet. This is just the very beginning. The very beginning of this.
What if
right?
he doesn't suck?
Oh, he sucks.
Wait, but
How do you
why?
know? There's nothing on there yet.
Well, because he enables and allows Dan Clancy to do what he does. That's all you need to know.
You just
Right?
started snubbing.
So this just linked to the Dan
Amazon
Clancy
guy?
website.
Yeah, he's Dan Clancy's boss.
So you're not happy with the kind of actions taken in response by Twitch? You think that they're not sufficient?
Yeah. The site, by the way, what you're doing when you're trying to get your point across, you're not sending these sites to journalists because they're not going to give a shit about some fucking schizo site. That's for purely for LSF people. You're sending them to the articles, the Jewish press or the New York Post article or something, or Richie Torres's fucking letter calling it out. I'm not sending them to fucking DanClancySucks.com.
I think
right?
the problem is if I am a journalist and I'm being sent these leads and then I'm like, oh, okay, this guy Dan comes up a lot, like what is he involved with?
Yeah, there's a few of us.
Dan the man. And then I find these websites that you have posted multiple times on your Twitter. I'm gonna be like, okay, I can't trust what this guy says. Like,
Just based on the look of it, you're saying?
no, like based on the vibe, the look, the format of it all. I would just be like, this person is schizo.
Well, you're in the minority on that one. It's designed to take away everything that we can. So this is the URL.
That one's probably the best.
Well, this is designed very specifically, so you can't click and look on other stuff here. This is it. This page, advertiseontwitch.com/McDonald's, this page is dedicated to McDonald's. If you click here and play, you're going to watch a video of an advertisement for McDonald's, and then you will watch some fucking Hassan clip that's an unhinged, right? And then below here, there's more stuff that has been allowed on Twitch, and then it's like all here. This whole page is designed to be a fucking nightmare for McDonald's. And then here's the good thing. When you go and you click contact the media on this thing, right? So if you go, or when you go, so they're going to be here, they're going to see this page, and they're going to be like, holy fucking Christ, look at all these people that they're about to be contacting, right? So this is if you're complaining to the brand, you can tweet at them. Maybe we didn't update that. Contact your AG. Like, trust me, this is shit that when McDonald's does not want to fucking have to deal with there.
So because this is cancel culture, but you just think it's for a good cause, and that cause being
But it's not
anti-Semitism.
It's not my fault, right? So put it this way.
Well,
no, that's not true.
You take responsibility in a way. You take ownership.
I am the photographer taking evidence of a crime. Okay, you don't blame the guy taking a video of a fucking Rodney King getting beaten by a cop. You blame the cops. Do the advertisers want their advertisement next to this content?
I suppose not. I mean,
okay, so who's really fucking up here? Is it me that's showing them that it's happening, or is it?
I'm not saying that you're fucking up or not fucking up.
There's no sense.
How do you think the changes?
You're either with me or you against me. That's it.
How do you think the whole siloing of Twitch politics now that advertisers can just click no towards?
Oh, you didn't see my response to that?
No, I didn't see your response.
Oh, well, let's just say I'm glad that they added the just not seeing category, and that totally solves all the problems.
I assume.
Are they not Nazis in
Yeah.
their gaming streams?
44 million.
It's like, okay, how do I put this? I'm against it because it's trying to let them solve the problem while letting the actual problem exist.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, hey, listen, advertisers, you don't have to worry about all this fucking Jew stuff and all this crazy shit. We'll just put that over here. Your ads won't run against it.
But when you had the XQC stream where you were like in the chat, that's not a politics stream necessarily.
Doesn't matter. You're supporting Twitch.
No, I know, but you need to put more about the fact that there's just generally an anti-Semitic nature in the chat, not just these.
Oh, don't worry. We have another site that's launching soon. It's actually super cool.
That's for a different site.
You know, this site,
It's like 20 sites.
I don't know the exact name of it, but it's going to be called like Visualizing the Hate. Okay? And the whole thing is for the first time, you're going to actually be able to see how certain terms are used with emotes, with everything else in certain chats. So what are the most common pairings of the word Zionist in Hassan's chat? How does it compare to the word Jew? Is it the same? Is it different? What emotes are used the most? Is it?
Do you have the preliminary data?
Right? Do
you have preliminary data? Is it next?
I have all the data.
Okay.
Going back 5 years.
All of it.
Chat logs for all the major ones.
Jesus
and it's not looking good.
No, it's looking fucking atrocious. There is
Without
no
autist, you don't.
there's like a 10% difference, like compared to like basically they use Jew interchangeable with Zionist essentially. When you look at that,
How were you determining whether Zionist is used interchangeably with Jew?
above my pay grade, I'm too stupid to know that. I just know what I'm told.
How did you find people to do this? Are they just other angry Jewish people?
They're people that are upset with Twitch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do you know you can trust them?
Common enemy.
Trust but verify. Right?
Okay, yeah.
I'm not just like blindly accepting anything that they give to me. You know, you go and you look at it and you see if it's, you know.
Now, connected to the pornographic material.
What about it?
So the anti-Semitism is linked to DJ Clancy's alleged pornographic usage because
He's a long-time idiot.
He's a fucking retard.
Wouldn't that so and again I'm not making one statement or the other, but wouldn't the fact that he's absent-minded, stupid, like not looking, if that's
You're
your
giving
argument,
me the Trump excuse?
No, I'm asking you, isn't the fact that you're pointing to his absent-mindedness, those are your words, as with respect to the porn stuff, doesn't that help him?
Didn't care. Maybe he's just so blatant he didn't give a shit.
But then that would undermine the notion of anti-Semitism, wouldn't it?
No, that would.
Well, he just wants Dan Clancy to resign, right? So whether he
Well, at this
intended
point,
it to be
it's just-
anti-Semitic or not.
So that's kind of separated from the ideological part of the crusade.
The crusade is to ruin this guy, who's allowed this to happen on the site by any means possible whatsoever. A guy that does not give a shit.
Any
as long-
peaceful and legal means possible?
Peaceful and legal, of course. There is no boundary within reason that I won't cross to end this man.
Oh my god.
He's fucking systematically creating an entire like generation of people that are gonna hate Jews, and they won't even know why. They'll
What if
just
you're
think
in
it's
this
cool.
man and nothing changes?
They'll change. That's how it works.
How do you feel about that, Pisco?
It's true.
There's a
CEO
lot of
culture.
thoughts.
CEO goes out. All the
I'm skeptical
ideological
because
zealots that are with him go with
Because
him.
I think there is a genuine anti-Semitism problem that you were pointing to. I think that a lot of that is in the chat. A lot of this in the creators that were unbanned. I think that those are like huge anti-Semites.
Wait,
and I hate that the message is getting diluted and we're going into these different areas, which to me don't seem relevant.
I love the porn stuff. That's the kind of snark that I'm interested in. I want a DJ Clancy snark Reddit where you decentralize and everyone's
Well, you know
like,
there's a new subreddit, by the way. If you guys haven't subscribed to this.
So no, there's not.
There is a new subreddit. It's reddit.com/r/Hassan Piker.
Isn't that his?
That isn't.
Is that not his?
oh my god.
Yeah, this is a Hassan subreddit. Yeah.
Wait, how?
Did you get it somehow?
Not me, but some intrepid people that
This
got
is old
hired.
Reddit. This is old Reddit.
Is that his
isn't it?
actual one?
No.
No, his is Hassan_Piker.
Okay.
Oh.
Who has
Mistake.
this?
What a mistake.
They've
I'll tell
had
you
this
I'll tell you what happened
forever.
is that someone saw how insane that he got. This was just a redirect for a long time. Someone saw how insane that he got, and they're like, you know what? I don't want to be involved with this, but they gave it over to someone else, and then that person was like, hey, listen, I'm going to start using it. I'm like, fucking awesome. Go for it.
Oh my god.
So how does Hassan fit into this broader picture?
Hassan is.
You don't want
the
him
gun.
banned, right?
I don't care about Hassan.
How
Well,
doesn't Hassan fit?
Hassan is the gun. Dan Clancy's the man shooting the gun. Do you blame the gun or do you blame the man?
True.
Oh, it's
So
a
do you
sentient.
want to ban
Oh.
guns?
It's a
You
sentient
think,
gun. It's a sentient gun.
Oh, sentient.
The gun's choosing to shoot.
Okay.
It's just
Wait.
being held up.
Do you?
And who's
It's being supported.
What about the boss of Dan? Who in the
He's
analogy?
holding the
He's
balls
holding
of the
gun.
man holding the gun.
I mean, that's why we got the site set up for him as well. They'll start going for SteveBoomSucks.com. Yeah.
Who's above Steve Boom?
Well, listen, one at a time, you just keep climbing, and eventually someone's going to give a shit about their fucking name and allowing this type of shit to go. Today, Hassan said, okay, he said, point blank, he's like, Oh, sorry, I got in trouble for that Houthi shit. I can't do that anymore.
Oh, you got a warning.
Well, that's a warning.
No, hold on. No. He got a warning today. He did that 30 days ago. Twitch's statement, like yesterday, was like, when we see bad shit, we immediately stop it right away. So what the fuck is it?
But they changed, right? I mean, there is no change. It's
There-
PD, post-Dan.
The rules just don't apply to this motherfucker. That's it.
Because other people got temp bans for that stuff, right?
Listen, I think that he has absolutely done and said some things that would be ban worthy for anyone else. That said, like, aren't you? You're having an impact. You are.
There's no impact. There's no stopping until this man is gone. But I'm not in this for a PR statement or a 6-month plan or for the ADL to say that they're working with him. I'm not in it for an oversight board. I'm in it for Dan Clancy to be fucking fired because the Jewish people can never trust this motherfucker ever. Ever again. No matter what. I don't give a shit what this fucker does. That's over for him. I will not stop until he's gone or I'm gone.
Oh my gosh. You make it sound like you guys are gonna get into like a shooting battle or something.
I'm just being clear. I'm not in this for like some bullshit.
So
I don't
it
care
does
if
sound
Steve ever gets
personal.
mad. It is personal because he's the fucking retard that's allowing this shit to happen in the first place.
You're gonna go to TwitchCon?
Huh?
Are you gonna go to TwitchCon?
I might go to TwitchCon and
Yeah.
I might fucking dress up in the ultimate like full Jewish outfit.
What's that?
The whole fucking Orthodox garb. You think I won't do it? I'll go in there. Ask if
We
I
all
can have a
believe
panel
you
and have
will
them
do
deny
it.
me.
Feels a bit anti-Semitic.
I want to do a tier list. I want to do a tier list. I want to rank the different types of dreidels.
My culture's not your culture.
Well, I just don't want your message to be lost. That's all I'm saying.
That's what a lot of people are saying right now. And those are also the same people. I made this meme before. These are the same people. This is why we don't have control of the Supreme Court right now. Bunch of people concerned about fucking optics and not saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. And now, guess what? Republicans, they didn't give a shit. They just fucking did it. And now they have the Supreme Court.
Well,
It's not even necessarily optics though. There's like
it's getting
messaging
shit
that
done
is
by
more
any-
effective.
No, there's getting shit done that's more effective. That's what the Republicans did.
Didn't
what
it
we
take
did,
the Republicans like 30 years?
What's that?
quietly behind the scenes to get the Supreme Court?
and
no,
that
they
was
did it all at once by denying Merrick Garland.
Yeah, but that was a question of power. They had the power, and I don't think it was
Democrats have never had that power before.
to do what. Yeah, they did have that power.
Did they use it?
They did not use it.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. I'm using the
But-
fucking weapon of the enemy.
Do you have?
Hassan.
Hassan is my weapon.
It's been quite inspiring to watch that approach because it's like the complete opposite of what I would do.
It's the opposite of everything you guys stand for, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
And you'll
yeah.
see the difference in results between singing Kumbaya in front of Twitch headquarters and going fucking
I
all
think
out nuclear
there's
war.
there's
Terror.
something to
Yeah.
there are certain people
Full
ideas
fucking unfiltered terror.
there are certain ideas
Yeah.
and people that
I will
that
become.
deserve to be bludgeoned.
Yeah.
And the issue is that you have to pick the right target. And the like concerning issue is when it bleeds into being the wrong target, and the issue is that it becomes the wrong target very, very
Yeah,
quickly.
collateral
If you're not-
damage, ratios. Terrorists think about this all the time.
You would know.
I know, exactly.
That is the issue.
Do you already have like one of those IDF lists with the fucking family
Yeah,
trees
with
and
the
the
little-
crosses eliminated?
Another one bites the dust.
It's annoying mostly for me that I can't share everything I know all at once.
No, but that's so good. Because
It's
like,
not.
I'm
It's not good
intrigued.
because people lose their shit. They assume that nothing is happening. But realistically speaking, releasing anything now is pointless because in 2 days it'll be completely drowned out, and then I have to wait 3 days after the election. So there is shit, but it's just like if you
Strategic
It takes
patience.
time.
if you do it now, you're literally just blowing your load for no reason, just because people want it now. They want it
Strategic
now,
patience.
but it has no reason to do it now at all.
Just like Iran and Israel, just strategic patience.
Here's what I've noticed
Wait.
from my limited experience of like fighting with left-wing anti-Semitism is that no one gives a fuck about it. Like if you look at the
absolutely,
so
right.
the problem is like when you look at the like the press, the only people who covered this stuff so far is like what New York
Listen,
Post and all these like right-wing MAGA rags and shit. And in the UK it's the same thing, right? Like
That's gonna happen.
like in the UK, the only people in the press who will cover left-wing anti-Semitism is like right-wing papers, and then the problem is like the only way you can get this message spread is by basically joining up with fucking right-wingers who half of them only care about left-wing anti-Semitism because they actually just hate Muslims. Like,
I don't disagree that anti-Semitism on the left is. You know, I would say in some ways it's worse than on the right. You know why? Because the right, at least you know what you're dealing with. They're just like, you know what? I think these Jews are up to some sneaky shit, and it's like, okay.
It was a big issue in UK politics, though, with
Corbyn.
With
The
Corbyn.
leftists do it, and then they act like
yeah,
they're
but
better than
again, it was the same. It was
Probably wasn't that big.
it was the same
big deal.
Boris Johnson.
made it
Hang on,
big deal.
hey, Boris Johnson, who wrote
Someone
Boris Johnson, like, who went against Corbyn, wrote a fucking book, like, that is so full of, like, racial stereotypes for every single group. And obviously, like, the Jews in the book are people who control the banks and pull the strings of the entire fucking planet. Like,
What did this guy
no
pay
one,
$100 for?
no one in the Conservatives gave a fuck about anti-Semitism, but it worked. Like,
Who was it?
It's like Sarah or something.
Hold on. I'll find it. Don't worry, Mr. Negative 100.
Or Saha?
Here.
Are they?
Saha.
Why is it getting
Someone
shit on?
donated, right?
Minus
Yeah,
100,
because-
200?
Because they
They
just gave
noted twice?
$100 to a millionaire, probably.
When they could have given it to me.
Is 200?
I think he donated 100 twice.
Donated twice?
Oh, no.
For nothing. Well, not for nothing. We're all acknowledging that you donated 200
Who
now,
was
I
it that
guess.
did it?
Someone,
The fucking name?
we've
Wait,
got,
did he get
whoa.
banned? Somebody said leave them banned.
Who was it? SHAH. Okay.
Banned him for 2
Shaw.
years?
Shaw.
What
Dan,
is
I'm
it?
worried about accusation of hypocrisy because there's a lot of spicy chatters in a lot of different places.
Uh-huh.
And if that's the basis of our
Argument.
crusade, I'm concerned.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought that was one of the.
I don't know what you mean. What do you say?
So I thought you were doing some kind of analysis on the amount of times that a word is substituted for another word and how,
Sure.
and the kind of amount of words that it's close to do some kind of anti-Semitism quantitative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not his responsibility to run a multi-billion-dollar platform where he preaches that he doesn't do that.
No, he's saying
Chatters are
DGG
hard to
can get
wrangle.
backfired
Your
on.
word, you think it's going to come back to DGG?
Well, I'm just saying that I'm not saying whether it's going to come back to DGG or not come back to DGG.
What are you worried about then?
I'm just saying, ideologically, isn't there an accusation of hypocrisy? People will look at DGG or other related chats and be like, I mean, YouTube chat's quite unhinged.
Sorry!
The only problem is that, like, because if we're gonna have different mics running, you guys get in the habit of like moving mics around. We're gonna run into really awkward
Okay.
phrasing.
Okay,
Can he
can we
mic
get, is there any way to get mics for Dan and for Joe?
Joe's on the mic, right?
I'm around a mic. I'm enough.
So we've been sharing this mic then.
Sure. Hopefully, like set up here, it should be okay if you guys
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hopefully broadly. What?
Okay.
Where's your
It's just to the left. There's 2 doors. It's
Awesome.
not hard to find.
Thank you.
You won't get lost.
I
Well,
don't think it's hard to find.
every person that comes in goes, "Where's your bathroom?" And I'm like, "Well, one door's a closet that you can see into."